Paraya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachari Sucharini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Shake Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, slower. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Srila Prabhupada ki, His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj ki.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj ki, So Hare Krishna, and we'd like to welcome you all to this Sunday program, the first after a very long time. We especially want to welcome back His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj. Haribo. So we'll start with a story, and that story is of a sadhu who once visited Vrindavan. And as it goes, he went in for darshan into a temple, and he left his shoes outside. And when he came back, he saw a little boy stealing the shoes and running away with it. And as he was running away with the shoes, the sadhu became very furious and was wondering, what's going on? I come to Vrindavan and now he's stolen my shoes. So in his angry mood, he started following this child all around. And this child ran into a house, and it started running all through the first floor. Then it went up to he went up to the second floor, and he ran all over the second floor, and then he went to the roof of the house. And when he reached the roof of the house, he saw the sadhu coming, and he gave the shoes back. So he asked, why are you giving my shoes? Why did you steal my shoes if you're giving it back to me? And the child replied, I heard that when a sadhu visits, he should enter your home and bless the entire home with his lotus feet. And the dust from his feet will bless your entire home. So now, we're very happy to welcome Maharaj back and bless this Dham of ISKCON Santon, New Varshana Dham. And from there, we pray that he enters our heart as well and bless our hearts with his lotus feet as well. So welcome back, Maharaj, and we're very happy to have you back, and thank you so much for enlivening so many devotees who just graduated from their Bhakti Shastri as well. Over 450 devotees since the lockdown till now graduated from Bhakti Shastri. I think it's the biggest in the world at one go, so all by Maharaj's grace. So thank you so much, Maharaj, and we're happy to have you back. And we have an entire community here who's ready to serve you. Hare Krishna. So I'll now hand over to Sadhu Sangha Prabhu, who will just brief us on the COVID protocols.
Hare Krishna. His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj Ki. You know, I've been waiting for 4 months to do that. Devotees, I want you to just loudly repeat with me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, thank you for being here. We love you. And we missed you. And we'd like to welcome you back to ISKCON Santon, New Varshana Dham. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj Ki. So devotees, I was supposed to actually tell you about the COVID protocols, so I couldn't hold back. Devotees, thank you very much. It's been about 3 or 4 months since we had a program in the garden here with Maharaj, and we're so excited about this. Maharaj is back, and he promises to have darshan every single weekend. Haribol! So we will get a chance to get Maharaj's darshan, but obviously we are in the 3rd wave of COVID, so it's important for me just to remind you about the COVID protocols. It's important that whenever we are in the temple premises, unless you're holding the mic, you need to make sure that you have your mask on. You need to make sure that you sanitize on entry, and also to make sure that you register your temperature when you get in. So thank you very much for following those protocols. The chairs have been strategically placed on the lawn here for your social distancing. So when you do come and arrive, please make sure you don't move the chairs, because they have been measured to ensure that there is social distancing to keep yourself safe as well as others. So please comply with those regulations. After the program is finished, we also like to encourage devotees to try not to congregate, because that's where the biggest spreaders of COVID typically happens. So if you are going to be congregating, try to make it as minimal time as possible, but also keep your mask on and keep your distance at the same time. Try to avoid contacting. I know devotees love to embrace. I'm guilty of that as well. But obviously, in the new normal, we can't do that anymore. So please, for your safety and for the safety of others, please make sure you maintain COVID protocols. I'll talk to you a little bit later about some of the announcements that we have. But right now, you have not yet to come and speak to me or listen to me. So I'm going to hand you over back to Maharaj, who's going to take us through a wonderful class today. Thank you very much, Maharaj, once again for being here. Hare Krishna. His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj ki. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai. Thank you, Prabhu. Your wonderful announcements. They're just lovely. Worth coming up here just for the announcements. Well, devotees, thank you very much for the warm welcome. Thank you, Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu. Thank you also to Vrajavasi Prabhu. And thank you to all of you for coming. I was wondering, I was just thinking, just an hour ago or something like that, will devotees come? But look, here you all are. So thank you all for coming. It's nice. It's such an ideal situation for programs. And yes, well, we'll be having programs as we were, Saturdays and Sundays. Of course, coming up shortly, in 9 days, is it? Or something like that. I think it's the 14th, is Radhastami. Such an important festival, appearance day of Srimati Radharani. So what we're going to do in our gatherings like what we're having now, until then, we are going to have a special seminar on Srimati Radharani. Yes, it's nice, because there's a lot about Srimati Radharani, information, understanding who she is, and all aspects of that. And then different pastimes between her and Lord Krishna, very fascinating and very enriching to hear. So that's what we're going to be doing. Today we'll start, first part of the seminar, Radhastami seminar, day 1. And then next week, Saturday and Sunday also, same time. We'll continue with day 2 and day 3. And then I think the actual day is Tuesday, if I remember correctly. So yes, that will of course be the culmination. Yes, so please come and participate. And we will explore this amazing subject of who is Srimati Radharani, what is her relationship with Lord Krishna, how do they interact, all these different types of things. So first of all, some prayers. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschitya Deshatarane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha Paditanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So yes, all glories to Srimati Radharani, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye. We offer our very respectful, most respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani. Oh, and I forgot to mention when I was thanking you for coming, thank you to our bhajan band. Oh, that was, what a beautiful kirtan. I was just in my little room, just back there, just relishing it so much. Thank you. So, that's all the mercy of Srimati Radharani, actually. And I'm sure she was very happy to hear that nice kirtan. So let us begin exploring the subject of Srimati Radharani. First of all, let us talk a little bit about who is Srimati Radharani. What type, what category even of living entity is Srimati Radharani? Oh, it's such an interesting subject. You know, one time, Srila Prabhupada was in a program with devotees, you know, a whole gathering of devotees somewhere in America. And Srila Prabhupada asked a question. And it sounded like, you could say, if you wanted, you could say, a silly question, or something like that. Srila Prabhupada asked, who is God? Now, to ask a whole group of practicing devotees, many of whom are initiated even, and, you know, have read a lot about these things, to ask a question like that, it sounds like a silly question, doesn't it? And, well, predictably, the devotees' hands went up, and the devotees said, Krishna! But Prabhupada, would you believe, Srila Prabhupada said, no. And bewilderment set in for a couple of few seconds. Krishna is not God? Oh my gosh. Why am I in the Hare Krishna movement? And then Srila Prabhupada said, Radha Krishna is God. Yes, Radha Krishna is God. Because, as we'll read some verses now, and we'll see in these verses from Scripture that Radha and Krishna, in one sense, you could say ultimately, but that's not really appropriate exactly, but definitely in one sense, Radha and Krishna are not exactly two, they're one. Or you could say they're one in two, like this sort of idea. Because Srimati Radharani is the Hladini potency of Lord Krishna himself. Hladini potency means the pleasure potency. Everyone has some pleasure potency which gets stimulated under different circumstances. Like we were listening to the lovely kirtan, it was so nice. And we were feeling happy. Some pleasure was there, definitely. Some pleasure was there, coming from within us in response to that. So we have some pleasure potency. Means capacity to feel pleasure ourselves. And of course different things stimulate that, some more, some less. You know, we have different sort of emotional potencies, fear, sadness, but we also have pleasure potency. We have some capacity to feel pleasure which gets stimulated in different ways. So Krishna's like that. Krishna has his pleasure potency. He has his knowledge potency. Different potencies Krishna has, as we do, because we are little parts and parcels of Krishna, and therefore so many at least of the characteristics and qualities of Krishna we have in our little ways. So he has pleasure potency, we have pleasure potency. He has knowledge, we have knowledge. He has a form, we have forms, like this. So yes, Krishna has his pleasure potency, which is just part of him. You could say it is built into his substance, what he is. It's just part of what he is. But in the case of Krishna, in order to increase that pleasure or experience of pleasure, which Krishna gets when his pleasure potency is stimulated, in order to increase that pleasure, Krishna placed his pleasure potency outside himself as Srimati Radharani. So she's part of Krishna. She's not exactly a separate person, as we are all separate persons. We're separate from each other, separate individuals. So it's not exactly that Srimati Radharani is a separate individual from Krishna, as we are separate individuals from each other. She is part of Krishna. But being placed separately, and of course having that mission, and she knows what her mission is, it's just her very essence of her being. It's just what she is. She knows that she is simply there to give pleasure to Krishna. So she does that, but in very personal ways. And even sometimes Krishna is just astonished how Srimati Radharani gives him pleasure in this way and that, and ways he never thought of, in ways he never expected, and to degrees that he didn't think were possible. This is all, sort of transcendental chemistry or something like that. How the relationship between Radha and Krishna works is very, very transcendental. And Radharani is there, and she has no other. In French they say raison d'être. I don't know if any of you speak French a little. It means reason for being. Yeah. Just what you are. And Radharani is just what she is for giving pleasure to Krishna. So unlike us, we are a different category of living being. We are Jiva Shakti, and we are known as Tatastha Shakti. We have, Tatastha means marginal. We have marginal tendencies. We could go this way, we could go that way. And of course, go this way, go that way means we could go and serve Krishna, or we could go the other way and just try to please ourselves. And the vast majority of living entities on this planet, in the whole material world, they've taken the decision long ago to go that way, the other way, not this way, not the serving Krishna way, but somehow to give themselves pleasure and forgotten all about Krishna and anything to do with where they came from or what they are, all these things just forgotten, lost. So, but here we are having our program today, and we're all devotees, you're all devotees. We like to serve Krishna. So even though we're coming from material life, and previously, at least many of us were not born into devotee families and just brought up in that way. Many of us were living in materialistic ways for some years, but then we've become devotees later on in our lives, and so here we are. So we've made that decision that what is my business in life? To try to please Krishna, to serve Krishna. But the tendency is there to go this way or that way, and I'm sure you've all had experience that even though you're engaging in Krishna's service in so many ways, sometimes the mind comes up with some other idea. Did it ever happen to you? Yes, it's like that. Some alternative idea. Rather than serve Krishna, I will do something else, at least for a while. So that's showing our marginal nature. We can go this way into service to Krishna, or we could go some other way into doing something just for our own bodily satisfaction or mental satisfaction, nothing to do with pleasing Krishna. We could watch, instead of chanting our rounds, we could watch a Bollywood movie. It's a challenge sometimes, isn't it? I mean, for some I know it is. One of my disciples, actually, one more senior for many years, when he wanted to get second initiation years and years ago, he approached the initiation committee in the Radharanath temple and said, I want to get second initiation. So they put him through a test and, all that sort of questioning him about his standards and all. And then a couple of weeks later, they had another meeting with him. And he was asking, so will you give me a recommendation for second initiation? And they said, well, we don't know, because, second initiation is serious, means you're really focused in Krishna consciousness and you don't go off, in the wrong direction. And they said to him, we heard you were at the Bollywood show. There was some stage show with Bollywood artists. We heard you were at the Bollywood show. So, that's not very Krishna conscious. And he asked, how did you know that? And one of the initiation committee members said, I saw you there. So, you can go this way, you can go that way. We have marginal tendencies. Yeah, we're not just focused like completely, on Krishna. But Radharani, she's not Tatastha Shakti. She doesn't have that marginal nature to get sidetracked by just some non-Krishna conscious thing. That's what she is. She's simply, she knows nothing else. She has no propensity towards anything else than pleasing Krishna. So I'm going to read a few verses. First of all, I'm going to read a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela chapter 1, verse 5. And I'll just read part of the verse actually. But it's a nice verse. I mean, the first part, very nice in the sense that sort of defining Radha and Krishna, you could say. Radha Krishna pranaya vikritya chaladni shaktir asmat ekat manav api bhuvi pura deha bedam gato tau, which means the loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, previously they separated themselves. So this is basically just from Shastra what we were saying. Ekat manav, eka, they're one. They're one. But deha bedam, beda means different. We have our achintya bed, abed philosophy, that everyone, everything is simultaneously and achintya, somewhat inconceivably, bade, different from, but abade, not different from Krishna. So yeah, ekat manav, they're one. But deha bedam, they've become separate. They've separated for the pleasures of enjoyment. You know, Krishna is a big enjoyer. He just likes to enjoy. We've picked that up from him. But, yeah, he is Purusha. Purusha means the enjoyer. And we are Prakriti, which, you know, in the basic meaning is we're the energy, but Prakriti also means we are the enjoyed. Krishna's the enjoyer, we are the enjoyed. And the problem in material life is that when we try to become the enjoyers, imitating Krishna, it doesn't work well. It really doesn't work very well at all. You know, who cares about politics and all that? I tell you what, the older I get, the less I care, and the less seriously I take it. But, you know, a few months ago, Mr. Biden became president of America, and he thought, from what I could make out, he thought he was pretty cool. He made it. He's in the top position. Then suddenly there's this chaos getting out of Afghanistan. And what an embarrassment for him. Oh my God. Actually, just what a shocking situation. Anyway. So yeah, we're not so good at enjoying. Even we get into some big position or get some big money, then what's the big deal? You've all come here in motor cars, and I'm sure some of you came in relatively ordinary motor cars. Someone else is very rich. They can come in a Rolls Royce. And so they think, oh yes, I'm better than you in your ordinary car. But it's just a car. It's just 4 wheels with an engine. What's the big deal? It's not really a big deal at all. Actually, Prabhupada was picked up in Chicago one time from the airport in a Rolls Royce. And there was a reporter there who saw that and got disturbed. And she came back to the temple and questioned Prabhupada that I thought you were spiritual. What you're doing in a Rolls Royce, it's sort of high-level materialism. And it's not good, she said to Prabhupada, it's not good. And Prabhupada replied that you're right, it's not good. It's really not good. They should have picked me up in a solid gold car. Because I am the representative of God. So just some piece of tin, it's not good. Prabhupada was the expert in the quick response field. Yes, so the loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, previously they separated themselves. I want to read now a sequence of verses. It's actually about 15. They're very definitive verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila chapter 4. If you want to understand Srimati Radharani from Srila Prabhupada's books, then read Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila chapter 4. It's very wonderful and full of beautiful detailed information about Srimati Radharani and her relationship with Krishna. So I'll read these verses here, and I'm sure you'll relish them. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila chapter 4, beginning with verse 83 and going through to 98. Devi Krishna Mai Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mai Sarva Kanti Sammohini Para. Translation: the transcendental goddess Srimati Radharani is the direct counterpart of Lord Sri Krishna. She is the central figure for all the goddesses of fortune. She possesses all the attractiveness to attract the all-attractive personality of Godhead. She is the primeval internal potency of the Lord. Kind of says it all in a nutshell. But let's go through some of the detail. The following verses are a purport. If you read through these verses from this chapter 4, verse 83, and if you read on, you'll see Prabhupada does not really give any purports. And that's because the author himself, in the following verses, is giving his purport. Yeah. So let's read through these verses. I'll just read the translations. Devi means resplendent and most beautiful. Just like our ladies, when they're initiated, they are then named such and such Devi, Dasi. Yeah, so that Devi, well, Devi means goddess, but literally Devi means resplendent, most beautiful, effulgent, effulgently beautiful. Or else it means the lovely abode of the worship and love sports of Lord Krishna. Krishna Mai means one who's within and without a Lord Krishna. She sees Lord Krishna wherever she casts her glance. Yes, so whenever you see a word, something Mai, like Ananda Mai, Karuna Mai, here Krishna Mai, this Mai indicates within and without. So Karuna Mai, Karuna means mercy. Karuna Mai is the name of Radharani. It means one who is just simply mercy within and without. Ananda Mai, Ananda means bliss. One who is just bliss within and without. That's all they are. Or Krishna Mai means that she is identical with Lord Krishna, for she embodies the mellows of love. The energy of Lord Krishna is identical with him. Her worship, Aradhana, consists of fulfilling the desires of Lord Krishna. Therefore, the Puranas call her Radhika. Yes, well, Radha, actually Prabhupada gives a very short purport. The name Radha is derived from the root word Aradhana, which means worship or to worship. So Radha means worshipper, and Radha Rani means queen of worshippers. And Radhika, if you're just from a Hindi-speaking background, you would understand, right? The use of ka and ki means of. Yeah, it means of. Aapki gadi hai. Is that your car? Something like that. Right, so Radhika is one who is of worship. That's what she is. She is of worship. The greatest servitor. The personality who excels all in worshipping Krishna may therefore be called Radhika, the greatest servitor. And then a verse is quoted from the Bhagavatam. Truly the personality of Godhead has been worshipped by her. Therefore Lord Govinda, being pleased, has brought her to a lonely place, leaving us all behind. This is when Krishna took Radharani from the rasa dance. It's described in the 10th canto. And in the Bhagavatam, the name of Radharani is not mentioned specifically, except in this verse, Anaya Radhito Nunam. The reason why Radharani is not mentioned in the Bhagavatam is that Shukadev Goswami, the reciter, he knew he only had 7 days and 7 nights. And you know what the Bhagavatam is like. It's long. It's a big book. It's no small thing. You want to read the whole thing, just the verses. Well, he knew he had 7 days and 7 nights just to read the verses, so he couldn't afford to take a break or just to stop for any reason. And the thing was that Shukadev Goswami was such a devotee of Srimati Radharani that if he had spoken her name, he would have just become overpowered with ecstasy for hours, maybe for a day or two. And he wouldn't have been able to finish the Bhagavatam, so therefore he didn't mention her name. Although he refers to her in different places, different gopis, not mentioned by name, but it says, one gopi says this. Just says, one gopi says this. But then it's actually Radharani. Yes, okay. Therefore, Radha is Paramadevata. This is another word from that first verse. Paramadevata, the Supreme Goddess. And she is worshipable for everyone. She is the protectress of all. And she is the mother of the entire universe. I've already explained the meaning of Sarva Lakshmi. Radha is the original source of all the goddesses of fortune. Or Sarva Lakshmi indicates that she fully represents the six opulences of Krishna. Therefore, she is the supreme energy of Lord Krishna. The word Sarvakanti, these are all words from that verse, the first verse we read. The word Sarvakanti indicates that all beauty and luster reside in her body. All the Lakshmis derive their beauty from her. Kanti may also mean all the desires of Lord Krishna. All the desires of Lord Krishna rest in Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radhika fulfills all the desires of Lord Krishna. This is the meaning of Sarvakanti. Lord Krishna enchants the world, but Sri Radha enchants even him. Therefore, she is the supreme goddess of all. Sri Radha is the full power, and Lord Krishna is the possessor of full power. The two are not different, as evidenced by the revealed scriptures. They are indeed the same, just as musk and its scent are inseparable, or as fire and its heat are non-different. And the last verse from the sequence. Thus, Radha and Lord Krishna are one, yet they have taken two forms to enjoy the mellows of pastimes. Yes, so Srimati Radharani is the complete pleasure potency of Krishna. Krishna's complete capacity for enjoyment. So you might think that, oh, okay, Krishna put his whatever capacity he has for enjoyment, he took it out and put it out. So now Krishna has no pleasure potency left. Not exactly. It's true, she's out, she's there, and she is Krishna's complete capacity to enjoy, but his pleasure potency is still there also. Don't worry too much about that. Yeah. This pleasure potency, you know, the internal potency, spiritual potency, has three parts. Sat, Chit, Ananda. Eternity, knowledge, bliss. And there are three energies which provide those things. Chladni Shakti is the pleasure potency, gives the Ananda. The Samvit potency gives the Chit, or the knowledge. Yeah. And the Sandhini potency gives Sat, gives eternity. So Radharani is the Hladni potency, the pleasure potency. She's not exactly the Samvit potency or the Sandini potency. Those are different parts of the internal spiritual potency of the Lord. But the pleasure potency is the main part, because Krishna is the enjoyer. And the Samvit, the consciousness, knowledge potency, and the potency of existence or eternality, they are there to facilitate Krishna's enjoyment, to facilitate the Hladini potency. Therefore it was said, we read in one of the last verses, Radharani is the full power, and Krishna is the possessor of the full power. Even though, Yoga Maya or Purnamasi in Vrindavan is the presiding deity of the whole internal potency, all three parts. But because the main part is the pleasure potency, and the other two parts are just serving and facilitating the pleasure potency, therefore it can be said, and it is said, that Radharani is the full power, the full potency. And Krishna is the possessor of that. So these are some thoughts. And are you okay there in the sun? You're not getting overheated in the middle of winter? It's interesting, isn't it? Okay. Anyway, well, let me conclude by telling you a little story, and then we'll have some kirtan. Oh, okay. All right. I'll tell you a little story first. This is the story of, it's called Prema Samput, the love locket. It's from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who's provided quite a number of really amazing stories of pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And just listen, I'm just briefly going to tell you the story. It'll just take, if we got into the whole thing, it'd take an hour. But we'll just take, say, 5 minutes, maximum 10. But just listen to the blessing which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says about this pastime. Anyone who faithfully hears or describes this pastime of the Supreme Lord with the gopis of Vraja attains supreme devotion to Krishna and quickly becomes free from the heart's disease of lust, becoming fixed in Krishna consciousness. So very briefly, devotees, this is a very nice story, and it's very relevant in the context of what we've been saying for the last while. That one time Krishna decided he wanted to test Radharani to see, is she really attached to me, or can I do something to stimulate her to sort of become a little negative towards me? Or even if I stimulate her in a negative way, will she still remain completely faithful and devoted to me absolutely? So he was going to test her to see. So therefore Krishna, you know what he did? He disguised himself as a girl, like, well, we're talking about teenage, 16 to 18. Krishna disguised himself as a girl. And Krishna is such an expert in disguise that even Radharani and the gopis could not recognize him when he was disguised as a girl. It's just, but what do you expect? He's the Supreme Lord. So if he wants to disguise himself, he can do it the best. So he did that. And he came into the assembly of Radharani and the gopis and started crying and crying and crying. And Radharani and the gopis were trying to pacify this girl. They didn't know it was Krishna, as we said. And they're trying to pacify her. Please tell us what's wrong. Is it this? Is it that? Is it something? What is it? But she wouldn't answer. She would only cry. And eventually, after some time, she answered. And she told Radharani, Krishna, in this female form, told Radharani, the thing is, I am a demi-goddess. And I travel around, up there. And I look down and I see what goes on here in ISKCON Santon. And I just see everything that goes on. And I have been watching you, Radharani. And you know who I've been watching? I've been watching this Krishna fellow who you're so attached to and, you're just sort of dizzy about. And I want to tell you, this Krishna is not worth the trouble. He's no good. I have seen, because I travel around up there, I see what goes on. That he meets you and he says nice things and you think he's just so nice and he loves you so much. And then he says, my mother's calling, I've got to go. But he goes and meets another gopi. And he tells her the same things. And she feels the same ways. And then he goes and tells another gopi. So, and this is, you understand what's happening. Krishna, as the demi-goddess, is trying to make Radharani jealous and angry. But Radharani will not become jealous or angry. In fact, she says, I know. And it's not a problem. Because I know all the gopis love him. I love him the most, but they all love him. So they should meet with him. And I don't object. Because they're such nice girls. And, I don't want to be sort of stingy. And the demi-goddess, Krishna as the demi-goddess, says, oh, come on. These things happen all the time in material life. Boys and girls become attached, but then one runs off with another one, and that's what this Krishna's like. Can't you see it? He says he loves you, but he doesn't really. And I'm trying to help you, the demi-goddess says. I'm trying to help you to see reality, to see this Krishna for what he is, and then you can reject him, because that's all he deserves. But Radharani is saying, no, it's not like that. He loves me. I know he loves me. And the demi-goddess says, how do you know he loves you? Just because he says so? You don't believe him for a minute. And the demi-goddess says, I actually know how he feels. I know. And the demi-goddess says, oh, how could you know? How could you know? Radharani says, I actually know how he feels, that he really does love me. And the goddess says, well, how can you say you know? And Radharani, you know what she says? I know because the two of us are one person. We're two halves of one person. So I know. I actually know. And the Demi-Goddess says, oh, come on, you're a sentimentalist. There are pop songs about you. But Radharani's insisting, no, I actually know because we are one person. So I know how he thinks, I know how he feels, and I know he loves me. And the Demi-Goddess says, well, listen then, if you're one person, bring him here now, and then I'll believe you. Just bring him here now. So Radharani sits down in meditation and closes her eyes. And of course she's already deeply absorbed in remembrance of Krishna anyway. But she closes her eyes and goes into even deeper meditation on Krishna. And the Demi-Goddess, suddenly the Demi-Goddess transforms into Krishna, unable to resist the desire of Radharani. But Radharani doesn't see because she's got her eyes closed. But the other gopis, they see, wow, what happened to the Demi-Goddess? Now the Demi-Goddess is Krishna. And Krishna tells them, okay, just, don't say anything, all right. So then Radharani comes out of the meditation and there's Krishna. So Radharani turns around to inform the Demi-Goddess that, see, but there's no Demi-Goddess. And Radharani asks, what happened to the Demi-Goddess? And the gopis say, oh, she suddenly had some urgent business to take care of, and she left. And Krishna said, what did you do to me? I was out herding the cows, minding my own business, and suddenly I was forcibly transported here. What are you doing? You're doing some muti on me. This is not fair. I'm a pious young boy, and you're bringing me here into this whole room full of girls. It's not right. But anyway, I think you get the idea that they all lived happily ever after, at least put it that way. So, Radha and Krishna are one. In two, yes. Radha and Krishna are one in two. And therefore, some people think Radharani's relationship with Krishna, Krishna's relationship with Radharani is not really moral. It's immoral. They shouldn't be together like that. But actually, Radharani is just part of Krishna. Krishna is just relating with himself. He's just enjoying himself. And the main gopis are expansions of Radharani. We'll talk about that next week. They're also partial forms of Radharani. So there's no question of immorality. Krishna's just relating with himself and enjoying pastimes with himself. So there you go, devotees. Radharani is such a super extraordinary person, beyond super extraordinary. Her only desire is to please Krishna. And whenever she sees there's someone who wants to please Krishna, she becomes really pleased with that person. Because she's so happy, here's someone who wants to please my Krishna. And she'll encourage that person and help that person and facilitate that person in their attempt to please Krishna. So I will conclude by reading just a couple of sentences spoken by Srila Prabhupada on one Radhastami. Radharani is Hari Priya, very dear to Krishna. So if we approach Krishna through the mercy of Radharani, then it becomes very easy. If Radharani recommends that this devotee is very nice, then Krishna immediately accepts me, however fool I may be. If you go by the speculative process to understand Krishna, it will take many, many lives. But if you get the recommendation of Radharani, then even, Prabhupada says, even you are fool number one, which, is that you've got to be pretty foolish to be fool number one. But even if you actually are, but Radharani recommends you to Krishna, then Krishna immediately accepts you. He cannot refuse, and he will not, and he does not. He accepts you, and then your life is perfect, and back home, back to Godhead. So over these days, we'll explore more and more about Radharani, and hopefully it'll stimulate you to develop your relationships with Srimati Radharani in service to Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srimati Radharani ke. Srimati Radharani ke. Srimati Radharani ke. Go Premanande.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. Maharaj, we have 3 questions for today.
Oh, okay.
So the first question, Maharaj, is what is the duty of a Krishna-conscious wife?
Well, to please Krishna, which through doing different types of services, but one of them is through assisting her husband and encouraging her husband in his service to Krishna. And that's also one of his duties. He has to encourage his wife and help his wife in service to Krishna. So, we could go into a whole thing about this, but the wife has natural duties to serve the husband, help the children, and bring up the children. But it's all in the context of serving Krishna, serving the spiritual master, serving Krishna, like that. It's not like separate from serving Krishna. Yeah. Not that the husband can think that, for my wife, I am like Krishna. And so she must dedicate herself to me. Sometimes the husband will find that his wife is so busy in some service to Krishna that she has, for example, neglected to cook something for him. But that he shouldn't get upset. He should feel that that's good, because it's better that she serves Krishna, and I can cook something for myself too. Okay.
Yes, Maharaj. It's a true story, Maharaj. Maharaj, the second question is, how do devotees process the negative effects of the antisocial pandemic issues? how do devotees process the negative effects of the antisocial pandemic issues?
I mean, by antisocial, do you mean that we can't all just gather together, or antisocial in the sense that people get angry with each other or aggressive with each other? Well, if you take it like we can't associate in the ways we're used to, take it that this is Krishna's test. For me to cultivate appreciation of the devotees more, now I can't be with them so closely, I can't spend so much time, I can't embrace them so much or maybe at all. So these are restrictions because of the pandemic. But because I'm restricted like this, you know, there's a saying, separation makes the heart grow fonder. So I should really try to appreciate the devotees more, and really the desire to associate with them intimately and closely, that I should cultivate and develop more. Just like a related thing is that myself personally, for so many years, I go to Mayapur and Vrindavan particularly, and Jagannath Puri to some degree, and some other places, like often, at least 3 times a year. I mean, who goes 3 times a year? Not many, if any. Maybe once a year, maybe once in 2 years. But the thing is, when you're going so often, here we are in Mayapur, yes. Here we are in Vrindavan, oh yes, I was here, a few months ago, and I'll be back again in a few months. You become familiar with the sacred places, and it's not like so much like, wow, somehow I got entrance into Vrindavan, despite my disqualification. No, that sort of attitude is the right sort of attitude. Not just like, yeah, here we are at Govardhan Hill again. We were here a few weeks ago, and we'll be back again in a while. So, I would say that the separation, if that's what's being talked about, the separation from different devotees and different facilities and opportunities to serve in Krishna consciousness. We're not able to do these things so much, some of them. That should be a stimulus for appreciating them more as sacred opportunities, and not just, the same old thing. Sacred opportunities. So then as things, Hari Bol, open up. But anyway, after, the 25th wave or something like that, when it all subsides, or we're all so heavily vaccinated that, the virus couldn't touch us if it tried, then we'll really appreciate being able to associate and serve and do all these things.
Jai, thank you very much, Maharaj. Maharaj, the last question is, Hare Krishna Maharaj, what is the best way to explain Srimati Radharani to a non-devotee?
Yeah, well, I would say the best way is just, obviously you've got to keep it very simple. She is Radha Rani. She is the queen of the devotees. And her desire to serve Krishna is much greater than the desire of any other devotee. And she is the greatest possessor of selfless love, meaning the selfless desire to simply serve God, to serve the Lord without any personal considerations like that. Yeah, keep it simple like that. Because it's true. Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, we have a few announcements we want to make before we get into the Aarti.
Go ahead.
Thank you. His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj Ki. So firstly, thank you, Maharaj, for making the time on this wonderful winter midday. We don't think it's winter anymore. You know, it's so much warmer. But thank you, Maharaj, for making the time to give us your darshan physically after a long time of being online. So we really appreciate that. Devotees also like to thank you very much for making the time to come through. In a matter of 20 minutes, 50 seats for this program has been taken over. So obviously, you are all waiting to get here for Maharaj's darshan. So thank you very much for coming through. There will be more programs on Saturday and Sunday moving on to the next weeks as well. So look out for the communications and the booking links so that you can book yourself for the program. Devotees would also like to take this time to thank the wonderful support devotees that have been assisting us. Firstly, with the altar, it was Ananda Amrita Mataji has been here to help set up with the altar. We'd like to thank the Kirtan party led by Krishna Balaram Youth Group for always being here to help us with Kirtan and the wonderful Kirtan that Maharaj has been enjoying this morning. We'd like to thank the Prashadam team who has been cooking, and it's been sponsored today by Rohini Mataji. So let's give a great big Haribol.
Haribol.
Jai. We also thank our COVID support team, led by Yudesh Prabhu, who's still on duty somewhere out there. So thank him very much and his team. Also for the deities and the Pujari, Sham Govindadas Prabhu, thank you very much for coming forward and assisting with that. Devotees, just a reminder as well, we are in the month of Bhadra Punima, and this is a very important month because in Srimad Bhagavatam it says that one who actually gives a set of Srimad Bhagavatam during this month gets a guaranteed one-way ticket back to Goloka. So if you're keen on getting a guaranteed ticket, get your hands on a set of Srimad Bhagavatam and gift it to somebody you would think you really would love to go and share that with. At the moment, our book distribution team has a promotion that they're running on the Srimad Bhagavatam sets. They normally sell for 4,200 rands, but now they have it for just 3,500 rands. So take advantage of this opportunity. They also have payment plans available, so you can pay over 3 months at 1,200 rands or over 6 months for 600 rands. So what that means is you get your books now, you can start reading already, and you can pay for that over the next few months as well. So take advantage of that opportunity. I'll also be sharing some communications later this evening on some of the information and the details for our book distribution team that you can get in contact with. Devotees, there's also an interesting opportunity which has been posted on the WhatsApp group. I'd just like to share with you. It's a ISKCON Govardhan Eco Village in collaboration with the United Nations Environmental Program. And they are hosting a 2021 Value Education Olympia. Now, the program is for children and it's based on the principles of Bhagavad Gita. The intention is to create awareness of environmental conservation through the implementation of values as described in the Bhagavad Gita. So if you'd like and you have some young kids that would like to find out more, please have a look at the contact details for Balaram Das, and he would be able to go and give you more details on how you can register for this event and get your kids involved in this particular event. So it would be nice to do that as well. Devotees also, Govinda is opened at the moment, so if you would like to get something from them later on, you're welcome to go and support the temple by buying and purchasing from Govinda's. Today's menu is biryani, dal, paneer, and chole masala. So feel free to go and support Govinda's after the program as well. Just before we go on, there are some service opportunities available here at ISKCON Santon. So if you'd like to get involved, it's not that you have to only do service from the comfort of your desk or your computer or your smartphone. We have Harinam that regularly happens every Friday at 5 o'clock at the ISKCON Couchtrain Center. The Couchtrain stop, which is in Santon. We're also looking for devotees that can assist with cooking teams. So if you'd like to cook one of the simple menus for either the Saturday or Sunday program that Maharaj is going to be helping, please feel free to reach out to Madhurika Priya, and she'll be able to guide you in terms of the days available for the prasadam that we need to cook. When we are exiting, devotees, we'll be picking up our light prasadam as the way we've entered here. So you'll exit through gate number 3 or property 3, which is through the yoga lounge. Please also try to avoid congregating with each other when we are done as well. So the next part of the program will be Aarti. So we'll have Aarti and Maharaj will lead us into Kirtan. Maharaj, are we having japa as well?
Okay.
So for those devotees after the Aarti, if you would like, you're welcome to stay behind and join Maharaj with some japa out here in the lawn here. If you prefer not to join the japa, you're also welcome to leave. You can take your prasadam and leave. But for those who would like to stay for japa, we will bring your prasadam over to you and deliver them to you as well. So thank you very much once again, devotees, for coming through for this wonderful program. Maharaj, thank you for blessing us here with your presence and with your darshan. We look forward to seeing you every weekend now, not just on Facebook Live, but also FaceTime Live here in the garden. So thank you very much once again, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj ki.
Is it Guru Puja or Arati for the deities?
Just Aarti, Maharaj.
Arati. Okay, fine. Okay, so everyone, let's stand up. And where's... we have a mridanga player with us. You could play the keyboard, maybe. If he's available. Do you mind playing mridanga? What's this thing caught on? Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Dejatarine. Prabhupada. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gabhakta Vrenda Chaitanya Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gabhakta Vrenda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gaura Nitai, Jai Gaura Nitai, Jai Gaura Nitai, Jai Gaura Nitai. Jai Gaura Nitai, Jai Gaura Nitai, Jai Gaura Nitai, Jai Gaura Nitai. Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahangsa Parivrajacharya Tadasasi Samad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON Svandracharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem se goes Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrindaki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamkund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Shri Shri Gaunitai Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Santan Yatra Ki Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So devotees, those who would like can stay for japa. We'll chant japa for half an hour. Otherwise, of course, you're free to carry on, take your prasadam and go home. Hare Krishna. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Hare Hare Hare. So in half an hour, right? 2:30, yeah, whatever. Oops. Oh boy. Yeah. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare Hare Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shastri Gauravananda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare Hare Hare. Lolita. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari. Hare Krishna. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari. Hari Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari. Hari Ram, Hari Ram, 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 Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari. Hari Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Hari Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari. Hari Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari. At the back. Prasad. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna. They need prasad at the back. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari. Hari Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram. Hari Ram, 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 Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari. Hari, Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna. Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Hari Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari. Hari Ram, Hari Ram, 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 Hari, Hari, Hari. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna. Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hari, Hari. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna. Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna. Krishna, Hari, Hari. Hari, Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna. Krishna. Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari. Hari, Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna. Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna. Hari, Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, 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 Hari, Hari. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna. Ram, Ram, Hari, Ram, 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 Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, Hari. Hari, Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna. Krishna, Hari. Hari, Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari. Hari, Ram, Hari, Ram, 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 Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Ram, Hari, Hari, Hari. Ram, Krishna, Krishna. Ram, Ram. Krishna, Hari, Hari. Hari, Ram, Hari, Ram, 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 Hari, 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 Krishna. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram, Ram, Hari, 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 Krishna, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, Hari, 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 Ram, Hari, Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Hari Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hari Hari Krishna Hari Ram Hari Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari Hari Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gamadavanda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Hari Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Ram Next time. Okay. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Hari Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Ram 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 Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Hari Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari Hari Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Rama, 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 Ram, Ram, Hare, 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 Krishna, Ram, Ram, Hare, 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 Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare, 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 Krishna, Krishna, Hare, 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 Ram, Hare Ram, Hare, 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 Krishna, Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare, 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 Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare, 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 Krishna, Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare, 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 Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare, 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 Krishna, Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare, 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 Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare, 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 Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare, 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 Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare, Hare, Krishna, Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare, 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 Krishna, Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare, 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 Krishna, Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare, 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 Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare, 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 Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare, 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 Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare, Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare, 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 Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare, 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 Krishna, Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare, 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 Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare, 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 Krishna, Hare, Ram, Ram, Hare, 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 Krishna, Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, 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 Hare, 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 Krishna, Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare, Hare. Okay, devotees, Hari Bol. See you next week, Saturday and Sunday. Hare Krishna. Thanks for coming. Hari Bol.